in my life group. I pray for my family and, close friends, obviously. Pray for blessing. I go down the great list. I thank God for all this stuff. But then I say amen, and I almost never include the people who make me crazy. You know what Jesus wants at the top of your prayer list? Are the people that you listed in your notes today. He wants you to kick off your prayer with some agape love and to love those people that make you nuts. It's no wonder that God asks this of us. He's done this for us, right? Remember Romans 5:8? That tells us that while we are yet sinners, Christ died for us. Remember the first part of that verse? That God demonstrated his agape for us. And that while we were, in essence, it tells us in Ephesians chapter 2, his enemies, he sent his son. He acted on our behalf. He played out what he's commanding of us. And he loved us even when we were his enemies. Jesus, God's son, was just minding his own business when a bunch of temple leaders came and had a woman who had committed adultery. She'd been caught red-handed, as it were. And she was now about to be stoned according to Levitical law. Do you remember what Jesus did to this enemy of the faith, this enemy of God? Did he say, yeah, where's my rock? No, he spoke in her behalf. He challenged the other men. He said, hey, everybody who's without sin, go ahead and start throwing. And he speaks up. Jesus speaks up for the enemies of God. There's this verse in Romans chapter 8 that tells us, and I don't have time to preach this morning, but it tells us that when we are so broken up, busted up, and don't know what to pray in our lives, it tells us there that the Holy Spirit, the third member of the Trinity, God himself, intercedes for us. That is, he prays for us to himself on our behalf when we don't know what to pray for ourselves. Here's the theological thing you've got to wrestle with this. God prays for you to himself. Romans 8:26 and 27. I don't have time to unpack it. But God's love for us, the thing he's asking us to exhibit in the world, the thing he's asking us to give to the enemies of our lives, it's the same things that he's given to us when we were once enemies of him. He's just asking us to do what he does. So that's what love looks like. Love to a hater, we love him in action, in word, and in prayer. But you can just picture this crowd listening to Jesus that day and being like, I don't get it. I mean, I hear you saying it, it's do this, but I don't understand. He says, well, let me tell you some stories. Let me give you some pictures. That's what comes next. Can you be more specific? Sure. Jesus says, let me tell you. Love lets hate go. If you aren't picking up what I'm putting down yet, Jesus says this. Love lets hate go. Look what he says. He says, if someone strikes you on one cheek, turn to him the other also. Now have you ever been slapped in the face? Anybody ever been slapped in the face? That's always like this big part of a movie or a soap opera or something like that. The guy's finally done it, and the chick just goes, wah! And smacks him right in the face, right? It's long bit. Now, you're not like going to go to the emergency room with a smack in the face, right? I mean, unless you get like, I don't know, Chuck Liddell hits you or something like that. I mean, unless it's like a big smack, you're not going down. But a smack in the face was a shameful experience. It was an act of someone saying, you're no longer worthy of me or worthy of my relationship. And in fact, it stems from, you want to know where it stems from? It stems from the synagogue. In the Jewish custom of someone being booted out of the Jewish faith, if you had been an idolater or an adulterer or broken the laws and you were no longer welcomed to worship in the synagogue of a town, you would be expelled, and the last thing that would happen is the priest or one of the temple officials would come out to the steps of the synagogue, and he would take his hand and he would smack you right in the face. Now remember who Jesus is talking to. He's talking to a lot of people who are just starting the journey with him. They're just starting to kind of get warmed up to this whole Jesus idea, and they haven't counted the costs. And he told them, back when I was preaching to you a couple weeks ago, that you're going to be happiest when you're rejected. In essence, what he said was, you're going to be rejected. If you start following me, it's not going to go well for you in this Jewish world. And so he's almost, projecting for them onto a screen their future. If you keep following me, someone's going to walk you to the steps of the synagogue and put their hand on your face. When that happens, Christ follower, what do? Do you defend yourself? Do you spit on them and tell them that, they're going to burn in hell? Some Christians actually believe that. That if someone comes against us and persecutes us, we have the right to come against them and, give them a beat down. I don't know what it is. But what does Jesus teach? And what did Jesus live, by the way? He lived this life of turning the other cheek. Saying, hey, hit this one, you missed it. He goes on and he says this. He says, turn to him, the other also. If someone takes your cloak, he's going to go to the closets of these people. Someone takes your jacket or your cloak, don't stop them from taking your tunic. Now, just so we understand, if someone takes our jacket or our coat, we just go get another one. We got tons in our closets. Everybody got more than one shirt? Did anybody try more than one shirt on this morning? Did you settle on this one? I like it. Anyway, yeah, in our culture, this doesn't seem like a big deal, but back then you had one coat. Your coat was your everything. Your coat was your coat during the day. It was your blanket at night. It was everything you had, clothing-wise. Most people that he's talking to in this situation were poor. They had their outer coat and their undercoat. They had the cloak and the tunic, which was your skivvies. But you see what he says here? He says, hey, if someone comes against you in hate and takes from you your coat, be willing to sacrifice your underwear too. Now, let's make sure we understand this. Everybody understand the literary term hyperbole? Hyperbole is speaking in strong and picturesque language to make a point. When I say to you that I've done this 1,000,000 times, have I really done this 1,000,000 times? No, but I'm trying to communicate to you what? Done it a lot. See, if we take hyperbole and these literary mechanisms literally, we can start get kind of messed up in error. Is Jesus telling everybody that when someone takes your coat, you should give them your underwear and then hence walk around naked? No, decency would command that we keep our clothes on. But what is he trying to communicate? He's saying, look, most people draw the line here with love. And we're going to see that in just a second. We draw the line at love giving back to us. As long as you're giving me love back, I'll love you. That's what the world says. But when you stop, I'm stopping. What Jesus is teaching here is he said, look, the extent of love that I'm commanding of you goes beyond what you normally would think I would ask. I want you to be willing to sacrifice your own shame and be willing to be shamed even more for my name's sake. I'm asking you to sacrifice your own things and be willing to give more for my name's sake. Love lets hate go. A few months ago, probably a year now, sitting there in the car with my sons at Blockbuster, and we were listening to the radio. I was going in to just grab a movie so we could watch it that night, and one of my sons said, hey, I'll stay in the car. I don't know if that's legal, but I do it. Is that okay? Is there a cop here? Anyway, no, he stayed in the car. I said, lock the doors and stuff like that, and I'll just leave the air conditioning running. It was just right outside Blockbuster. So I go inside with my other son. We're at the checkout line, and I look down, and it's son number 2 standing next to me. I'm like, what are you doing in here? I got bored. I said, well, did you shut the car off and bring the keys? He's like, oh, no, I wanted to make sure no one would get them, so I locked my door. I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know all the other doors are locked, right? And this is what he does. I love my kids. I really do. I love them a great deal. The canopy of love is over them. But this is one of those temporary situations where hate was seeping in. You know what I'm talking about? Because here's the deal. I was coming to buy them a video for that night. I spend lots of my money on my kids. But now they were going to cost me a tow truck and someone to come and open my car. They were going to cost me hours. So you know what I decided? I decided, well, that's it. Our relationship's over. You're no longer my son. Walk somewhere, but not to my house. Is that what I did? No. Why? Because this is something, listen, agape love, it's something that we experience naturally in the closer relationships of our life, with our kids, with our wives. Now, not always. Some of us flake out in those love relationships as well. But we are more likely to do forgiving love and to go the extra mile, to let hate go when people do stupid things or hateful things around us. But what God is asking us today is to do that for those that we would not naturally do that for. To love the Democrat across the street or the Republican across the street, whichever one you're not. To love those who would rather see us not alive, and to go above and beyond in that love relationship. That's what Jesus is talking about.